Over the next few weeks, we will continue to talk about quadratic functions. Particularly, we're going to talk about solving quadratic functions by factoring. Graphically, we know that to solve a quadratic function, we're looking for our x-intercepts. So, for instance, we're looking for the points where the graph crosses the x-axis. All right, remember that these are called solutions, but also x-intercepts. Zeros or roots. And again, we're going to be talking about how do we solve quadratic equations by factoring. So not graphically, but by factoring. So before we can talk about how to solve by factoring, we first need to talk about how do we factor. So that's what we're going to be talking about this week, upcoming week, and the following week. So when we look at factoring, we're looking at the form y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. All right. When we factor, we first want to label our a, our b, and our c when we're looking at a problem. And then we want to find the factors of a times c, but since our a is 1, we're looking for factors of c that add to give us our b. And then we're going to write the factors as x plus r, which is one of the factors, and then x plus s, which is the other factor. So let's look at this example here. We're given that y is equal to x squared plus 5x plus 4. So when we look at this, we can label our a is 1, our b is 5, and our c is 4. Now we're going to use this chart over here to keep up with everything. Remembering that we're finding a product of our c, which is 4. And we're going to find a sum of 5. Well, how do we find factors of 4 that add to give us 5? We're looking for numbers that multiply to give us 4. So, for instance, 2 times 2. That gives us 4. Those are factors of 4. 1 times 4. And then we always want to consider the negatives just in case, that suits us. In this situation, I don't think it will. But we always want to consider it. But the factors that are going to give us a sum of 5 is 1 and 4. So we write those numbers here on the side. And this is a way right here for us to just keep up with all the information we need. So now we finish off by writing our factors. X plus our first factor 1 times x plus our second factor 4. And that's it. We're done with this thing. All right, let's try another example. So let's say we have y equals x squared plus 12x plus 35. Remember, we're to label our a, b, and c. So in this situation, a is 1, b is 12, c is 35. Remember, we need a product of 35, sum of 12. So we're going to look at some factors of 35. Well, we know 5 times 7 gives us 35. Also, when we add them, we get 12. So we found the factors that we need. So we write here 5 and 7. Now that we're done, we just write it as factors. X plus our first factor, which is 5, and x plus our second factor, which is 7. And we're done with it. One more. We're asked here in this next example to factor y equals x squared minus 9x plus 18. Note that our A in this situation is 1. Our B is actually negative 9 because of the minus 9x. And our C is 18. So we write here, we want a product of 18, sum to be negative 9. So let's look at some factors of 18. We know 2 and 9 will do it. We also know that negative 2 and negative 9 will do it. We know 3 and 6 will do it. We also know that negative 3 and negative 6 will do it. And that's all I can think of at the moment. So which two are going to give us a sum of negative 9? Looks like the last one here. So we write negative 3, negative 6, and we write our factors. X minus 3, x minus 6.